How do you make tough decisions? As a leader, as a broker owner, as a business owner, team leader, what have you, how do you make tough decisions as an entrepreneur? And so one of the things as a leader that I find is that it's best to sort of have this framework figured out before the tough solution presents itself, because a lot of times you're so close to it, or when you're in the mix of it, it becomes very difficult. And so I'm going to give you an example of the framework that I use when I'm facing a tough decision as an executive, as a leader. And so hopefully this helps you as well. So this is actually something that I picked up from one of my mentors, Mr. Conway, Pastor Conway Evans, right? He's an incredible guy. And so he looks at it this way, right? A few questions that you want to ask yourself. The first one is, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And then the way that you answer that is not the correct answer, at least at first, right? So it's, why am I doing this, ... really? That's a question you want to ask yourself twice, because what you'll find is, hey, when I say, hey, why am I even considering this decision? You're going to give a cheap answer in the beginning, right? I'm doing this because, it's good for my family. Really though? Like, is that really why you're doing this? So challenge yourself the first time you answer it, and that'll help you get down to really the heart of the issue. And it's like, well, I'm not really doing it for my family. I'm doing it because I'm afraid of this happening or that happening. And so that's an example of where you really want to, lean into that second or 1A style of that question. Why am I doing this? And why am I doing it really? Why am I really doing it? The second question is going to be, what story do I want to tell? What story do I want to tell? When it's all said and done and my story is written, right? What story do I want to tell? And so maybe you're facing a decision like, hey, do I change my business model, right? Or do I, do I go full time into real estate? Like whatever it is, you could be facing this decision. And so fast forward the clock to the 80-year-old version of yourself, and now look back and say, man, what story do I want to tell? Do I want to say, hey, I didn't do it because I was afraid. I didn't do it because there were naysayers. I didn't do it because whatever, right? Or do you want to say, I made this decision and maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't, but I made the decision and this is what happened. So what's the story that you want to tell? Number 3 is going to be, is there a tension that deserves my attention, right? Is there a tension? Like what is surrounding this decision? What's surrounding this circumstance that makes me feel like I have to decide on this? And is it something that has to be decided on right now, right? Because a lot of times you could be have sort of ancillary forces, whether you're hungry or sick or tired or angry about something else, or stuff's not great at the home front or stuff's not great at business, and you're making a home decision. And so whatever that looks like, make sure that there's not some sort of auxiliary sort of tension that's going on that really is the emphasis and really where you need to focus on, and you're not just making a decision over here based on or influenced by something that has nothing to do with the decision at all, right? And then the next question is, what is the wise decision? What's the wise thing to do? And so I know that can seem sort of, I don't know, like overly simplistic, right? Well, what's the wise? Well, I want to make the wise decision. Okay, well, let's look at the definition of wisdom. Like how do you define the wise thing? How do you discover what the wise thing to do is? Well, wisdom, in my opinion, right, and according to the Bible too, by the way, it's simply a time horizon, right? So wisdom is simply understanding that what happens now is it impacts what happens in the future, right? The future version of yourself will be impacted by the decision that you make today, just as the current version of you was influenced by yesterday's decisions, right? And the past decisions that you have made. And so the wisdom question and like, hey, what's the wise thing to do? What you want to ask yourself is, okay, well, based on my past, right? Based on the past circumstance and based on my current circumstances and based on the future circumstance that I want to have or the potential outcome of this situation, based on the future, what is the best decision, right? And so sometimes the unwise, or almost in every case, right, the unwise is to make a decision based solely on one of those things. So if you're making a decision just based on the future case, and you're not considering what you're going through right now or the immediate circumstance, or you're not considering the past, like, hey, I just went through something like this, or I know someone that went through something like this, well, you're going to make a mistake. You're going to make an unwise decision just based on that. Similarly, if you're only making a decision based on what you're facing right now as a leader, what's happening currently in the market, what's happening currently, and not considering the future, it's going to be an unwise decision. And finally, if you're making a decision only based on the past, like, hey, I got burned, the worst thing to do is let a poor decision burn you twice. Right? So yes, it burned you in the past, but if you let it burn you again, or if you let it keep you from making a better decision next time, the reality is that now that's cost you twice. And so based on the past, the present, and the predicted future, what is the wise decision to make? And then the final question is, what does love require? What does love require? Listen, people first. I was recently facing a difficult decision, right? And so we had to make the decision, hey, people first, right? People come first before profit, before any other thing having to do with business. Certainly, it's always that people is the love first. And so that's something that I highly, highly encourage you. You will never be served wrong by putting people first, putting them first, meaning first ahead of you, right? What's best for the other person? What's best for the other person? If you serve enough people, who was it, Zig Ziglar, that said, you can have everything that you want in this world if you help enough what? If you help enough people get what they want. And so when you change the emphasis and realize, hey, it's not all about me. I want to do what's best for the most amount of people. That's what we call love. I want to do what's best for the most amount of people that are not me, that are not Tony King. Well, you would say your name, but you get the point. So that's my decision-making framework. Hopefully that helps. Again, you can apply this to family, apply it to business, to work, to whatever, right? Your brokerage, however you're looking at things. This is the simple kind of 5 questions that I ask, that I recommend that everyone asks before a tough decision comes. And if you want this, you can actually click on this link that I have down here. You can download that and you can print it, hang it up. I use this almost daily, certainly weekly. So hope it helps you too. For more tips like this, make sure that you like and follow.